This time on episode 444 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we discuss She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Season 1, Episode 6 episode, Just Jen.
I'm Stephen John Drew from Better Podcasting, a podcast about podcasting, part of the GonnaGeek network. Just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find fantastic geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
You have been granted clearance by director Alfonso Mack Mackenzie. Stand by for a S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. director.
And now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Agent Lauren.
I'm Agent Michelle.
I'm Agent Chris.
I'm Special Counsel Anthony.
And I'm producer of the show, Director SP. Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a Marvel Comic Universe fan show discussing the Marvel Cinematic and Marvel comic book universes as told on screen, both big and small, by Marvel Studios. The show is recorded on Sunday, September 25th, 2022, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios and broadcast weddings wide. Come and join our live chat as we record. And if you didn't already catch it, we love talking about Marvel.
Because of crushing wedding crashers.
If you'd like to talk to us about crushing wedding crashers, you can visit our website at legendsofshield.com.
If you have a good story about the time you got to crush a wedding crasher, leave us a voicemail at 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871.
If you were the wedding crasher, you can tell us all about it on our Twitter at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
If you want to commiserate with lots of other people who really hate wedding crashers and want to go crush the mess out of all of them, you can join our Discord server at GonnaGeek.com/Discord.
And remember, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the GonnaGeek network.
We should have had a cameo by Owen Wilson in here. You know, just straight out of Loki, just straight out of the alternate universe, just bam, into the wedding, and then boom, he's gone. We should have had that. They missed the wedding crasher crossover.
Wow.
Thank you for saying it before I did.
There you go. Yes, we are going to be talking about She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. And this episode, like I said last time, is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little less lightly or a little more lightly edited, a little less edited. And that's just due to the fact that we're recording a little late and I don't have time and I want to get this one out. So just as a warning, but we will be back on track next week. We'll be recording at our normal time and you'll have your nice polished episode and we'll have some news all the way back to D21. In the meantime, you guys ready to talk about She-Hulk?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You mean D23?
Next week. But right now we're talking about She-Hulk.
Yeah, but you said D21 earlier.
You said D21.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, you guys need to keep me straight. Let's talk about D23 next Saturday. In the meantime, you guys ready to talk about She-Hulk?
I do.
Let's do it.
Let's proceed.
She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Episode 6 premiered on Disney Plus Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. The episode was titled Just Jen. The IMDB description reads, Jen is a bridesmaid in a friend's wedding, a stressful event compounded by uniquely She-Hulk issues, or as we heard, shulky issues in the episode. Lauren, who directed the episode?
This episode was directed by Anu Valia, who has 25 directing credits starting in 2011, including 3 of Above Average Presents, 2 of Mixed-ish, 2 of Robbie, 1 of Love Victor, 3 of Never Have I Ever, 2 of And Just Like That, and 3 of She-Hulk.
And Michelle, who wrote the episode?
This episode was written by Kara Brown, has 4 writing credits starting in 2018, including 1 Grownish, 1 In the Dark, 1 Sneakerheads, and this episode of She-Hulk.
And unless I've missed something between last week and this week, Jessica Gao is still the She-Hulk attorney at law showrunner. So every week we run down a synopsis. This is unique to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. because we're the only one that does this synopsis. And one of us puts it together. Michelle has been doing an excellent job. And she's just going to start off reading this synopsis.
Jen receives an invitation to be a bridesmaid via a glitter bomb. At least Jen gets to wear a dress designed by Luke to the rehearsal dinner. Jen lets us know that this episode, like weddings, happen at inconvenient times.
Jen shows up as She-Hulk, but the bride, Lulu, has a point. No one should take the attention away from the bride. Jen promises to be just Jen at the wedding, thus the title. Jen's accused of making things about herself when Titania shows up at the rehearsal dinner. Jen claims Titania is there to kill her. Titania claims she's just a +1.
In the meantime, Mallory and Nikki have been assigned a fascinating case. Craig Hollis, aka Mr. Immortal, doesn't like confrontation, so he pretends to kill himself instead of having a conversation. 8 ex-spouses are suing him for child support, lost income, fraud, New Orleans jazz funeral. They learned about his behavior from a website called Intelligencia. Mallory lectures Mr. Immortal and tells him he's lucky his exes aren't filing criminal charges.
At the reception, DJ'd by the wonderful InChedible Hulk, Jen pays to get hammered. Jen dances, leaves Bruce a message, and flirts with Josh. Jen goes outside to vomit and gets sucker punched by Titania. Jen's too drunk to turn. Titania laments that She-Hulk is drawing attention away from her to Jen, someone who doesn't want or deserve to have powers. Jen finally turns, and Chet announces that they have a wedding fight. She-Hulk gets a few good hits in, but Titania is taken out by Vanity because a fall knocked out her veneers. Sober Lulu didn't want She-Hulk, but drunk Lulu's a big fan.
InChedible Hulk. So Nikki impresses Mallory by creating unique settlements for Mr. Immortal's exes, including a sincere apology with not 15 but 20 seconds of meaningful eye contact. Later, Nikki learns that Mallory is married and has a kid. They create an account on the Intelligencia site and learn about the death threats people are making against She-Hulk. Nikki goes against Mallory's wishes by telling Jen what they found on the website.
Jen and Josh share fries. The scene changes to a computer screen with Jen's information. We see someone put a bigger, better needle in a case.
With holes in it. I mean, this needle is so big, it needs like breathers on the side. Ugh, I would hate to have that shoved into me. All right, we're going to talk about first thoughts of the episode. Anthony, we're going to defer to you first this time.
I object to this episode for a lack of relevance, and I move that it be stricken from the record.
Is it sustained, or which one do you agree when you object and you agree?
So if an objection is upheld, it's sustained.
Sustained.
So this episode was fun, but it was a little bit of a plot slowdown. That said, I absolutely loved the Mallory and Nikki sections, and it was fun watching Tatiana Maslany just hang out at a wedding as an unhappy bridesmaid.
Oh, come on. This is just a fun character building episode, and it shows the animosity that Titania has for She-Hulk and the really not caring at all that she has for Jen, outside of the fact that eventually she'll turn into She-Hulk.
We need to talk about wedding planning issues because, I was involved in a wedding last year. I'm just saying, post-pandemic weddings aren't easy to find a date or a venue. So this Wednesday, Thursday wedding thing is totally okay in 2022. I don't know when it's not going to be okay, but it's okay in 2022. And I get the whole kind of, it's not destination wedding, but location wedding with the barn or the shed or something like that. Because, yeah, it happens a lot. That's kind of what the wedding I was involved in last year was with my daughter. All right. That's what I think of the episode. Let's talk about the specific issues with the episode, because there are a ton. We're going to start out by something the episode brought forward, and I don't think it was a mistake, about the issues of what others think you should be. And specifically, Lauren, you have some thoughts on that.
Okay, I know every episode since the show started, I come here like, this is a trans metaphor, but it continues. On the Am I the A-hole community on Reddit, people are always asking questions about weddings and was I wrong to act like this? And there's at least like once a week, I would say, of somebody who's trans and their family member asks them, hey, will you present as, whatever, that they are not currently, because I don't want you to upstage the bride at the wedding. So it's a lot of, don't be yourself. Be the version of yourself people are used to, because nobody upstages. Okay, as a former bride, I just wanted the day. I just wanted it to go nice. I wanted to see my friends and family. I wanted to get married. And that was it. I recognize that I am not a typical quote unquote bride. Hell, there was an issue with mine actually where, so our wedding colors were maroon and gold. And my best friend sent me a picture. It was like, hey, is this dress okay? And it was a white dress with like big gold stripes on it. And I was like, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. And apparently some people at the wedding were like, why are you wearing white? And she's like, the bride said I could.
Well, if you would have told me your wedding colors were maroon and gold, I would have gone in my Golden Gopher hockey outfit from college.
Sadly, I did not know you when I got married.
Fair enough.
Jen does go to the rehearsal dinner as She-Hulk, true, but she makes an entrance of it. And after the interaction with Lulu, she does turn to the camera and is like, you didn't expect me to come as Jen, did you? I mean, come on. I can understand that she is having the am I She-Hulk in a separate Jen? Am I She-Hulk and Jen? I do like how it is going through identity questions. Now we have Josh, who says, Jen is great and seems like to like She-Hulk. And we've talked about how, wanting someone to like all of you and everything. There are certain shows that you just need to turn off your brain and you're glad they exist. One of them for me being Say Yes to the Dress. And there have been so many episodes where you've got the bridesmaid from hell who actually is trying to live their wedding fantasies vicariously through their friend. And they are like, no, I want the separate dress. And it's awful for the bride. I feel for the bride, but I'm just sitting on the couch eating popcorn like, ooh, this is good. This is some good drama. So it's weird. There's a lot of wedding etiquette I do not agree with in this. But we are talking about identity first. Let's talk about the identity first.
Did she make an entrance out of it, though? Because
she just showed up in a dress looking nice, which, according to some people, is making an entrance.
I see so many AITA posts that are, I was prettier than the bride, and people were focusing on me.
The bride kept asking me to dye my hair. The bride asked me to cut my hair. The bride asked me to grow my hair out. The bride asked me to wear a dress that's deliberately several sizes smaller than I am. The bride, it never ends. There's just, oh my God, my goal in life is to never have to actually be a participant in a wedding again. I mean, bridesmaids, damas, whatever, but I don't want to plan a wedding ever again.
I don't like that Lulu said she should turn back as Jen, just because, Jen coming to She-Hulk, yes, and Lulu yelling at her, you took attention away from me. Okay, Bridezilla moment. I don't think she had the right to tell Jen to be Jen or be She-Hulk. I think after that moment, because there's even it's weird because then Titania comes along and there's not that exchange. But again, Lulu has this preconceived notion because she thought she was inviting her loser friend from school so she can walk down the aisle with the leaky dog, and none of her actual friends had to. So that part I don't agree with. Okay. So here, I do want to clarify. Jen, yes, made an entrance. Go girl. Lulu going, you can't be like that. I want you just as Jen, and you can't be She-Hulk at all. That I don't agree with.
That dog thing real quick. Again, from watching wedding train crashes. I like to watch 90 Day Fiancé. There was a season, actually, they're probably one of the better adjusted couples on the show. It was a gay wedding between a guy from Florida and a guy from Mexico. And they walked down with the guys from Mexico's daughter and the guy from Florida's dog, who was like 18 years old, looked a lot like the dog on there. And a podcast I listen to keeps saying, like, that dog's been dead for 20 years, and they just keep tracking it out.
It wasn't just the dog. It was the iron the shirts. It was the clean up because I've scared off all the staff. It was everything to help out all the crap jobs, basically, that go with a wedding.
How do you mess up your shirts collectively playing Mario Kart? Now, I am a longtime gamer. I have played every iteration of Mario Kart. I've gotten intense about it. I've never ruined clothing over it.
Wedding clothes, the rental wedding tuxes, you can ruin them. They're so threadbare in some cases and just not cleaned right and stuff like that. I can kind of see where that was coming there, especially if they're actually in esports, like they're being physical about it and not just like playing. When you play Mario Kart, do you play with other people sitting next to you, or is it just you in front of the TV?
I mean, it depends. I've played, multiplayer going back to the GameCube and Double Dash and N64 and all that. Like, I've definitely been in a room with 3 other people. I've thrown bows
in a press shirt
and trying to block screens.
I've been hit with a Nintendo controller over Mario Kart. But
from your sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my sister and I talk trash. Like, we love each other dearly. You would not know that if you listen to us talking to each other while we're playing video games.
But yeah, they didn't want another bridesmaid. They wanted an unpaid servant, basically.
Yeah, Jen was invited solely to be the lackey, solely to be the point of embarrassment, because Lulu was like, oh, you think you're hot bleep as She-Hulk? I'm going to make you the lowest of the low. I'm going to make you carry this world's ugliest dog contender, and I'm going to make you do all the work. And, the cleaning staff quit because they didn't like how I was treating them. You don't say. There's a post for AITA.
Dear Reddit, am I the bad person for leaving the wedding because my friend just invited me to be a bridesmaid so I could be there to do all the crap jobs? No, you're not. Just
this whole episode, I was just writing
Jen
in my mind as AITA posts.
What about the glitter bomb for the invitation? That's, it's not good.
That is a sin. I knew Lulu was an awful person right from the get-go. You send someone anything by glitter, you just don't. Glitter is worse than sand. It just, not only does it get everywhere, but it's also like not biodegradable. Like, we're going to be finding glitter 100 million years from now or something. It's just glitter, and you don't do that. It's wrong. It's just so wrong.
So here's a question for you all. Patty Harrison, who played Lulu, does she have a career after this, or is her career ruined because she played the Bridezilla so well?
Oh, she's hilarious. She was in I Think You Should Leave. She's been in a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, she'll be fine with this.
Okay.
Plus, I mean, showing some range.
I've recently started listening to a podcast called Were You Raised by Wolves? And it's all about being polite and everything, and just a lot of people writing in and, hey, is this the polite thing to do in this situation? What are you supposed to do? And they talked about glitter one time, and the consensus is that not only is glitter the herpes of the craft world, it is also extremely rude because you're making somebody else clean up a mess, because you have the glitter popping up and they don't even know it's coming.
The only acceptable use of glitter bombs is Amazon porch pirates.
I was just going to say that. Amazon porch pirates. That's a great use of glitter. If you're going to steal stuff off my porch, you're going to get glitterified with glue. Glitter goes out and then glue and then...
Or horrible politicians. I have a long list. Long list.
Okay, while all this is going on, back at the law firm, because that B story is still ongoing, Mallory and Nikki are dealing with Mr. Immortal, which I had no background on until I looked in the show notes. And Lauren, you have some background on Mr. Immortal.
Okay, so I was like, this name is familiar. Why is this? First of all, the actor was familiar. He was in Veep as Selena Myers' husband, and in Book of Boba Fett / Mandalorian as the Major Domo. He's a Twi'lek in that one. Anyway, so I was like, okay, why do I know the name Mr. Immortal? I check. He was the leader of the West Coast Avengers for a while, which was a team that She-Hulk was a part of at various points in time. I'm not huge on West Coast Avengers lore, but Squirrel Girl was also on that team. So I'm going to check it out at some point.
Point of clarification, Mr. Immortal was head of the Great Lakes Avengers, not the West Coast Avengers. West Coast Avengers was
I wrote that wrong.
Was a legitimate team. The GLA was entirely a joke.
Great Lakes Avengers was the one Squirrel Girl, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, West Coast Avengers was Hawkeye, Rhodey, Moon Knight, Tigra, a whole host of legitimate characters. The GLA is what Mr. Immortal was in charge of, just for clarification.
Yeah. My brain don't work.
Well, since we have Anthony here, who's our special counsel, let's ask him about the legalities of the event that Mallory and Nikki were overseeing.
Very well. Where do I begin? So, I mean, I just, as an attorney, watching this entire settlement conference, none of the wives had representation. So that right there is something that just was raising all kinds of ethical red flags. And then more to the point, say what you will about the right to counsel, say what you will about Craig Hollis and Mr. Immortal and how he misled all of these women. And you can only imagine this is only 8 that are alive now, as opposed to, however many millennia that he's been alive. He has the right to counsel, to represent his interests, not the interests of the women that he wronged. And it is incredibly unethical as an attorney to turn around and advocate for the people that are suing your client. That is a breach of your duty. He had every right to fire them. The fact that he yeeted himself out the window, I think spoke volumes, and the fact that he was just like, nope, I don't want to deal with this. And it was played for comedy, and I understand feminism and yada, yada, yada. But that's just from a legal standpoint. I was watching this going, no, man. I mean, never mind the fact that this is in no way, shape, or form the Mr. Immortal that I know and have read in the comics. Because again, he is a bit of a joke character, but he does have an ethos to him, and he has actually saved the world. He talked some other immortal character into committing suicide. It was basically a suicide pact, and he was like, I'll go first. And then the other guy blew themselves up, and then Craig regenerated and was able to save the world. So Craig Hollis in the comics is a hero. I don't know who this sleazeball is. And more importantly, neither Mallory nor Nikki were conducting themselves in any ethical regard whatsoever during the settlement conference. This whole thing was just so many alarms going off in my head as a lawyer watching this.
I feel you, especially when any show gets into technical details and I'm like, well, that's not how rocket science actually works. I get it. I was enjoying the way that Nikki took charge of the situation and was getting everybody kind of what they wanted without representation. I think without the extra lawyers there, it might have been just too many people in a scene, or it might have been COVID-related restrictions on how many actors they could have on set, or both, maybe. I don't know.
Well, then cut down the number of wives. I mean, I think you could have still easily told that story with 5 wives and then give everybody an attorney, or 4 wives and give everybody an attorney. And then at least the attorneys, you could have still told the joke. It still would have been funny and come to the very similar conclusion and not just completely disregard the practice of law. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it has to be perfect. I'm not saying it has to be to the letter, but they just completely disregarded it just so they could have their girl power moment. And I'm all for the feminism. I love the show in general, but this episode, it's just...
I do agree, because part of me was like, oh yeah, they're getting him. But I was like, but they're their lawyers. They're his lawyers. I have a legal question. Every time he dies, does he die? Because he also had like the multiple identities. Because he knows he's immortal, he fakes his death, but because he kept saying, I die, but then I don't die. Is that like a legal gray area that he's swimming in?
I don't think so from that perspective, because we hear stories all the time. It happens in regular life that folks medically die. They code on. I mean, I had a friend had surgery. He coded twice on the table. He was, dead, so to speak, but he was resuscitated. We hear stories like that all the time. If you're dead for, a certain period of time, it has to be obviously a very short period of time that you're dead, but it happens. I mean, our bodies are really just meat bags surrounding bones that are run by electrical impulses. So if anything goes wrong there, it's possible to restart the engine, so to speak. But I don't think that there's anything legally that would indicate that if he dies, then he starts a new identity, whatever. He's temporarily dead. I mean, he fell out of the window. He was dead, 3 seconds?
Yeah, Nick Gage was dead for 7 minutes after the Tournament of Death, and he still is back and kicking and slicing people's heads open with pizza cutters on TV.
Thank you, Lauren, for bringing in the wrestling.
I mean...
I know, it's what you do.
I can't stop myself.
All right. So while this is ongoing, we have issues going on at the wedding. We have Titania, who's finally making her move on Jen. And poor Jen, she's so drunk, she can't turn. And finally is able to get her wits about her. And we have a wedding fight. So there was a fight in this episode. I'm a little dissatisfied with it, but there was a fight.
Too short.
Yeah. But it was, I will admit, it was fun to see the whole, oh, she's here just to get at me. And, oh, Jen, you're being paranoid. And no, it was the whole time. It was, yeah. I don't know. There was an element of that. I like the interplay between them. But yeah, the fight could have been longer and better choreographed.
In Lauren's speak, it was a squash.
Yes. A literal squash match.
Yeah. My question is, her teeth are fine when she gets punched in the face, but she falls on ice, and that's what causes the black eye and losing the veneers. I'm sorry, what?
Well, no, ground is hard. That whole thing just... I loved in the post-credits little courtroom sketches where we see her getting her teeth fixed.
Afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, but again, just there's no consistency. It's, again, the punch is like, and they go with the slow-mo, the lip goes sideways and stuff like that. Also, the vendor that got hit with the flying body, like he did, or he should be dead. But again, the punch to the face, now she's fine. She slips on the ice, that messes her up.
Punch to the face loosens it up, and then the ice finishes the job. I mean, that's something that I see all the time.
Yeah, it's unscrewing a pickle jar, except it's her teeth.
You kind of get the feeling that Kevin Feige was a little hands-off with this series, because the consistency, the tie-ins, it's there, but it's not there. It's very loose.
And I wish that some of these episodes could have been longer. This was like 25 minutes. The other one was also 20 some odd minutes. I would have liked to have seen more of the development of the rivalry between She-Hulk and Titania, especially from Titania's point of view. I still have no idea why she is an influencer. I still don't understand her powers from, again, we shouldn't have to do research in order to enjoy the show. I'm taking it from the TV show point of view. In the TV show, it's just Titania is someone who can throw punches and is pretty. And that's why I'm just trying to figure out, like, why was she in court? I still have no idea what she was charged with. What did she get away with? I still don't know. And this fight being so short, that's another thing. It's just like, this has not been my favorite episode.
We're at episode 6, 2/3 of the way through. We have 3 episodes left, and I have no idea how long they're going to be, but we're like 2/3 of the way through the movie. So we should be at a point where we understand what's going on. I think I understand what's going on. And the whole plot of this whole thing was trying to get blood from Jen, right? So we see that scene at the end. I think, and let's talk about it right now, I think Josh has been implanted to make that happen.
That is completely what I thought.
Oh, yeah, totally. He's buttering her up so he can
Maybe not,
stab
though.
her with the giant needle.
He's too good to be true.
See, I'm so tired of this trope. I'm tired of certain color by numbers. Marvel's been doing this for, dear God, 14 years, something like that. We can throw away the coloring book. Your MCU, you should be above this. It should be more than that. And this whole obvious, I'm just too good after the dreamy guy was a bleep. I'm just like, I put in the notes. I really hope it's not the obvious thing.
I would like it if it's like, yeah, Josh is a red. Is his name Josh? I think his name's Josh.
Yes.
Anyway, hot guy. I'd really like if he's a red herring and it's some, like, I don't know, what if there's like I want there to be like a background character that's been in every episode that we haven't noticed because they're in the background. And it's not going to happen. But on the whole, I think the strength of this series for me is that it's fun. It's irreverent. We're not dealing with, universe ending consequences. It's just, okay, well, this guy has superpowers and he's being annoying with it. And we need to actually adjust life to this. And we're getting some of that, not as much as I would like, but can't have everything. This episode, while it did achieve the goal of being, for me at least, fun, also really showed that it's trying to be two different things. It's trying to be that fun show, and it's trying to have the through line, but there's not enough time dedicated to it.
The thing with Josh here specifically is they're not showing definitively one way or another whether he's involved in the plot or if he just happens to be sitting at the table with Jen. And I mean, I like the mystery, but also there are so many. Even outside of the Marvel shows here, you have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Grant Ward. Oh yeah, he's bad. You have everything else that Marvel has done, and oh yeah, this good person is bad. Or this bad person is actually good, going the other way. I want to see something from this where I don't know what's coming. I'm really enjoying the show, but I think we're far enough into it to where I can say, like, Miss Marvel, I think, did it a lot better with these are new characters. They're not necessarily exactly what you expect to have happen is what's going to happen. And here, Kaylee is predicting everything, and she has read absolutely no She-Hulk.
We have not seen Charlie Cox's Daredevil yet. I was hoping that was going to be this episode. It's not. So hopefully we'll get him next episode. And Jen also calls up Bruce again. You don't put that scene in there unless Bruce is coming back, or maybe you do. I don't know, but I think Bruce would be coming back maybe in the last episode or something like that. So I think we have at least 2, if not 3, with Wongers coming back, cameos. So I think that will happen in like Daredevil in the next episode, and then you get like a convergence of all the cameos in the final episode as they're actually taking Jen's blood or trying to take Jen's blood, whoever it is. So I think we got still some development up to that, if that is indeed what the whole purpose of these 9 episodes is to get Jen's blood.
So I have a theory about that blood. It's been confirmed that we're getting Tim Blake Nelson back as the character that he played in the Ed Norton Hulk. I think that is going to be the last episode tie-in to the greater universe, because we do know that he's coming back for something, and I don't know, that's my prediction. I would not mind being wrong, but at this point, just shrug. This show is the equivalent of cookies for me. It's fun. It's not particularly filling or good for you, but it's fun.
Well, to that point, the leader is in charge of the Intelligencia in the comics. So that is not a bad guess. So the idea that we're going to see him in charge of everything, and then he's going to ultimately be the villain of the Captain America movie, that may be the lead-in. He wants the blood so that he can make his super soldiers, etc., etc. He wants his army of Hulks so that he can control things, and that's where Sam, Cap, and everyone, those characters have to come in as well.
Oh no, he's going to be the leader of the incels. We don't need Hulk incels.
Yeah, we don't need any incels in general.
No.
But, I just wanted to say, by the way, that I absolutely agree with your point, Lauren. In fact, it was one of the things I had in my show notes. This show can't decide whether it wants to be slice of life episodic or serialized, and the lack of commitment absolutely shows in this one. And hanging a lampshade on your detour misdirection with Jen's fourth wall comment, like, you weren't expecting a wedding episode? Well, these things happen. Like, that's lazy writing, and you pointing it out doesn't make it acceptable to me. Like, it's just, I'm not trying to ask for a lot from this show. Like, to Lauren's point, it's cookies, but I want decent tasting cookies. I don't want cookies that you only threw in the oven for 7 minutes and you're like, yeah, but it's a chocolate chip cookie. Like, you should be grateful for it. Like, this isn't, bad pizza's still pizza. No, sometimes bad pizza is just garbage. I'm from New Jersey. I'm a connoisseur. We have standards for pies. I have standards for cookies. I have standards when I watch my entertainment. And this episode in particular really is giving me agita.
Well, we did continue the theme of having family, one of Jen's family in every episode, because we got the InChedible Hulk DJing the wedding. That is a continuation of the theme. At least they have something, right? And unfortunately, we had no post or mid-credit scenes or anything for the second episode in a row. I feel like they kind of teased us with the first 4 episodes of having those, and then now we don't. It's like, I miss it. I want my chocolate chip cookie, no matter how much it tastes, good or bad. I want my pizza. I want it, no matter how it tastes, but we haven't gotten it. So I kind of hope they bring it back next episode. I was entertained by this, but I was entertained because I was kind of watching it in the background as I was kind of resting after a day at the lake. And that was it. It's not meant to be mentally taxing, but at the same time, it is part of the MCU. So you're right. It should intersect with the MCU. I think, Michelle, maybe I'm wrong, but I think you had some issues with the Loki series. Kind of different, but kind of the same. What do you feel about this series in relation to Loki? Where you had like plot issues with Loki as it was going on?
Yes. I've had, the plot issues with not just Loki, but with a lot of the other series. Longtime listeners know I have the what's going on sort of deal. It was Falcon and Winter Soldier started, it went this direction. And for 3 episodes, it was about Zemo and the power broker. Then it was about this over here, Loki. And it was just like exactly what's going on. And when we got to it and then it ended abruptly, we all agreed that ending was just not that great. At first, like Miss Marvel basically got it right. I knew what was going on. That was great storytelling. At first, first She-Hulk I was kind of liking the quirky superhero kind of slice of life, kind of bringing in Alec McBeal sort of things. But with these past 2, I actually defended last episode. This episode is difficult for me to defend. I don't know if it was just a way for them to we want to bring in we want to start to bring in the bad guy, the real bad guy, the video game boss, behind the video game boss, behind the video game boss. And we wanted Jen to kind of have a boyfriend, and we wanted this website. It was just like, let's just have this together. And then we want to tie up Titania in a way, which to me, that present wasn't even completely gift wrap. So it really, what were you tying up? To me, it was not tying. It wasn't tied to begin with. And this really is the biggest pothole. This show is really, this is the one where it's like hiccup, and it's just like, boy, it's got 3 episodes left. Please stick the landing.
She does start out by saying this is a bottle episode. It's a wedding episode. It's a bottle episode, which it kind of wasn't because you had the stuff still going on back at the law firm. But Chris, you've been our barometer as the fourth wall breaking this entire time. What did you think about the fourth wall breaks in this episode?
I was a fan of this one. When you're going to have, I consider this one more of a beach episode from anime type stuff, because it's just people off doing things that mostly aren't going to have any relevance to the plot. And we'll see if that ends up being true later. But for now, this is just a beach episode. And yeah, I can see Anthony's point of this one kind of has no place, and nobody plans a wedding like this one and has it be a surprise. Even if it's an inconvenient timing, you know when it's coming. But I'd like to the nod to it right at the beginning of, yeah, this is kind of sucky timing. Deal with it.
I didn't have an issue with the fourth wall breaking in this episode. I think it was appropriately done. I think it guided the viewer, and I think it was fine. I think they're doing fine with the fourth wall break. It's not as comedic as the other times as it has been, but I don't know. Maybe this is a result of this being a different director and a writer team than we've seen in any other episode. I'm not going to blame the creative team. It's just a separate team that's done the bulk. So there were 6 bulk episodes done by the director and the main writer for the show, and this was not one of them. So I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. All right, I think we're at the point of final thoughts. Lauren, you want to go first?
It's like there's a bunch of little things that I liked that didn't quite gel together. Like I've talked before, I really liked Tatiana's performance. I liked Mallory and Nikki hanging out. The spouses was funny. I did like that the male former spouse was not played as, oh, haha, it's a gay joke. It was, no, this guy spent money on a mausoleum and a New Orleans jazz funeral, and that's the joke. The whole Intelligencia thing basically being just all the worst parts of the internet that currently exist and or have been run off. But again, it needs to decide whether it wants to be the episodic show or whether it wants to be the ongoing story show. Because the way they're doing it right now is, like we mentioned, very wishy-washy.
You can absolutely create a fun show, and you can have characters that have fun without making fun of the characters or disrespecting who they are, particularly if you have source material. I know it's a very common thing these days to kind of take the piss out of comic books and the source material, etc. But when you have solid stories and solid characters, use that. Mine that for good. You can tweak it and you can change it lovingly in a certain way. But when you just slap a name on when you slap an existing name on an existing character or an existing name on a new character just to make fun of them and turn them into the butt of a joke for an episode, it speaks to me of disrespect, and I'm just not thrilled with how they did Mr. Immortal in this episode, and I second basically everything that that Lauren was saying. I concur with her brief. I concur with her with her opinion.
Again, the Titania stuff was too short. I want to move on to the other wedding faux pas. Here's the thing. You have a destination wedding, and it seems as though the invitation Jen got was very last minute. That's also a faux pas. And maybe one of the other bridesmaids, or maybe the dog was a sudden thing. Who knows? So you have a destination wedding, and then you have a cash bar at said destination wedding. Don't have a cash bar. If you're going to have a reception, you have a reception. You just don't have that alcohol there. If you can't afford alcohol at the reception, then just don't have it. If you can't afford certain things, just have what you can afford. If people don't like it, people can leave, and then your reception is shorter and you can get to the honeymoon quicker. No. No cash bar. No cash bar. No.
Did we even meet the groom? I mean, I think we saw him, but did we meet him?
No.
He was meaningless.
Okay.
And we see in the end credits that Lulu was making out with Ched.
Yeah.
At the wedding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's not going to last long at all. Yep. The InChedible Hulk.
The Hollywood wedding. Disney is kind of bringing the hammer down in a lot of ways lately. Lauren will stop saying, and I will stop agreeing with Lauren, that they're having trans issues in this show being brought to the forefront when they stop happening. And I hope that they don't, because that's something that this show, because of She-Hulk being who she is pretty well equipped to take care of. You have the whole Intelligencia thing with everything that is wrong with so many parts of the internet going out and targeting people for stupid reasons. And I don't want them to waste this, because I mean, you've got it all here. You've got a little bit of it in other MCU stuff. You've got it in Andor pretty heavily, especially in that third episode. Go watch that if you haven't, because that's a whole minefield in itself. But I think that this could be a way for Disney and Marvel to just kind of put a stamp on where they stand on things in greater society.
All right, I got two things to close out with. First of all, Lulu's not getting her deposit back for the wedding destination. The damage that's done to the patio, that's, way more than a deposit's ever going to be. You ever put in a paver patio? Those things are expensive. So yeah, to repair it, it's going to cost some cash, probably more than her deposit. So that's it. And then second of all, Michelle, you know that window company that we started up over in Starling Tribune? It got some work out in this episode with Mr. Immortal going out the window. Any superhero show needs to have a window company assigned to it that it's going to make bucks, because you're going to have windows that are smashed.
It's a national chain now.
What kind of lead time are y'all on right now, though?
We make exceptions for superhero stuff because, they need it done in 8 days if it's a TV show.
Okay.
All right. So next time we're going to talk about She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Season 1, Episode 7. We're going to be doing that Saturday coming up. What is that? October 1st? October 1st at 10 o'clock a.m. It's going to be a normal episode. We're going to have some news. We're going to have some feedback in it, and we'll be back on track then. Looking forward to it. In the meantime, Michelle, after this episode, I only think there's one thing to do.
Oh, we need to grab the wedding cake and head on out.
Anthony, I want to thank you again for joining us and giving us all of your expertise and your insights, both legally and with comics. So thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, and happy to see the Capes on the Couch logo now officially as part of the GonnaGeek Network pre-roll on this show. Very excited to formally announce something that we've known for a while. As of a couple days ago, at least, we formally made the announcement. Looking forward to working with and cross-promoting all the fantastic shows on the network. Whether it's Chris and PlayComics, I know I'll be scheduling an appearance, and my co-host Doc will be on there soon. And Lauren just did an amazing voice for us as Sue Storm. That's going to be coming up in our season 8 premiere. So already getting a lot of that wonderful GonnaGeek synergy going.
Yep. And if you want to talk more about Capes on the Couch, you can join us on our Discord server at GonnaGeek.com/Discord and talk to Anthony until your heart's content about Capes on the Couch. It will be exciting, and we're excited to do more collaborations with Anthony and Capes on the Couch into the future. And that's where people can find you, right? When you're not here, you're there.
Yep, capesonthecouch.com, and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Capes on the Couch.
I'd like to thank the other co-hosts for putting up with me. And I would like to thank everybody who listens. We hope that you have as good of a time listening as we have talking.
Yes, thank you to everyone who engages with us. listens to our content. We appreciate you. And you can find me on Twitter at @Shell_game.
Every time that we get to come here and talk to y'all about these shows that we love, or in some cases, Iron Fist, that we didn't love, it's a fun time, no matter what. And if you want to hear me having a fun time in other places, you can head on over to PlayComics.com, where as we're recording this, the newest episode is me talking about Destiny of an Emperor with Joey from So Wizard. And the most amazing thing about that episode was that I finally learned how to spell Emperor.
Is it EOOEROR or is it ORER?
It is EROR.
All right. It's for our friends at home. All right, that's it for this week. Until next time, I'm Director SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
I'm Agent Michelle.
I'm Agent Chris.
And I'm Special Counsel Anthony.
All right. See everybody next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This episode is adjourned.
What kind of candy nuts? Were they M&Ms? Were they M&Ms?
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to GonnaGeek.com and you will find all our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com, where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod, found at incompetech.com, and also artists on pond5.com and audiojungle.net. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual hosts and do not represent Stargate Pioneer Productions, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D, or GonnaGeek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation, Marvel Studios, and ABC. No infringement is intended.
Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is copyright 2013 through 2022.